Hello Year 11 and welcome to this next video on how to answer exam questions for your AQA GCSE Religious Studies paper on the 16th of May. Remember, this is the study of religions paper, and the religions that we have studied are Buddhism and Christianity. In this video I'm going to show you how to answer the contrasting 4 markers and then the explain 5 markers on the practices section of the paper. This PowerPoint will be on your Teams group so you can see the full modelled answers. So I'll type them live now and you'll be able to see the completed versions in your Teams group. Any questions, as ever, please ask. And in terms of follow-up, on your Teams group, you will see all of the past paper questions in the revision folder. So this is where these are taken from. If you practice all of these, you'll be set and ready to go. In terms of where to find the past paper, any past papers, you'll see it at the AQA GCSE Religious Studies website under the Assessment Resources. Remember, you will see this is what it will look like. It will say AQA GCSE Religious Studies. The first section will be beliefs. See the previous video for how to answer those questions. So the first section will say beliefs. So you'll get 2 papers in front of you in this exam on the 16th of May. The first will be Buddhism. And it then says here, before you open this book, you must ensure you also have the question paper / answer book for the other religion option. Well, because we've done Buddhism and Christianity, you will see Buddhism in front of you and you'll see Christianity. It says you're advised to spend 50 minutes on this and 50 minutes on Christianity. That is a mark a minute. So the beliefs section comes first, and then when you scroll down past the 12 marker, you'll see the practices section for both Christianity and Buddhism. So this is the section we're going to focus on today, and we're going to focus on in this video the 4 markers and the 5 markers. Okay, so the 4 markers for this section of the paper will always say this phrase. It will always say to contrasting. Explain to contrasting something something. Contrasting in this context just means different. So when you read contrasting, you read different. Remember, the first and most important thing is to use the wording of the question. What does the mark scheme say? Well, it says that to get 4 marks you need 2 developed points. You absolutely do not need to use quotes in 4 markers. You're not banned from using them, but you absolutely do not need to use them. What you need to use is keywords to show that you understand the thing that is in the question. Okay, so let's just do a quick developed point for each one of these, so you can see what a 4 marker for Christianity and a 4 marker for Buddhism looks like. It's a mark a minute, so you can see on the video timeline how long this has taken me. So including talking through it, this should still only take me 2 minutes, so take a look at the video timeline. A mark a minute is what you need. Next to me, I've got my GCSE Religious Studies revision guide. So what I'm doing is having a look through, perhaps doing some flashcards on this topic in the question, namely death and mourning for Buddhists. And then I'm giving the question a go in timed conditions. And then I'm going to email, I don't know, Ms. Welton, Mrs. Griffin or Mr. Cooper, so they can mark the question for me. Okay, so this question then. Explain 2 contrasting Buddhist rituals associated with death and mourning. Okay, so if this says 2 contrasting, what's my first sentence going to say? Well, I'm always going to start with 1 ritual associated with death and mourning is the Tibetan sky burial. Now that gets me a mark. I've used 1 ritual and then I've said key term Tibetan sky burial. Now I need to develop this. What can I do here? If the PEE structure doesn't really work for this question, then just give an explanation as to what the Tibetan sky burial is. So it's just asking you to explain it. So what I'm going to say, I'm going to say this funeral ritual involves the bodies of dead people being taken to a mountain top to be eaten by vultures. And then I need my sort of this means that, or I'm going to say this shows that the body is temporary and the soul carries on into the next life. Boom. And that took me 1 minute 45 seconds. And you can see that I've answered the question directly, one ritual associated with, and that gets me 2 marks. When it says contrasting in the question, the second developed point will always start with a contrasting ritual is ... Okay, there we go. There's my Buddhist answer. Let's italics that so you can see. That is different. Okay, so let's have a quick go at the Christian one. Explain 2 contrasting ways in which the Eucharist, that's the Holy Communion, is celebrated in Christianity. Okay, so what are we going to do here? I'm going to turn to the page in my revision guide, and then I'm going to have a go at this. So one way, what does the question say? In which the Eucharist is celebrated is through taking blessed bread and wine from a priest. Okay, there's a mark. But now I need to say what that means. Okay, how is it celebrated? Well, I'm going to use a denomination here, so a subgroup of Christians. So I'm going to say Catholics believe that when the priest blesses the bread and wine, the process of transubstantiation, keywords, takes place. This makes the ceremony very important. Now that sounds quite basic, but there we go. What do I say for my next PEE? When I say a contrasting way is ... And you just follow the same pattern again and again and again. Now you try. Perhaps try and complete these 2, or have a go at another version. Okay, the 5 markers then. In the practices section, and remember, you can find all of these questions in your Teams group, past paper questions. In the practices section, it will always say, explain 2 ways. Explain 2 ways. Let's have a look at what the actual paper looks like. It says, okay, let's look at the practices section. Okay, so let's look, I'll tell you what, let's look at Christianity, shall we? Christianity practices. So the 5 marker, explain 2 ways, or explain 2 reasons why evangelism is important for the Christian church. Great example. Well, let's have a look at this one. Explain 2 ways in which Christian street pastors carry out their duty. You will see underneath that question it does say, refer to sacred writings or another source of Christian belief and teaching in your answer. So I'm going to do that. Bible, Pope, Catechism, Jesus, New Testament, whatever you say, make sure you say something. Otherwise you don't get the 5th mark. I'm going to give the Christian one a go, just so we can see. So if it says explain 2 ways, what am I going to say first? That's right. I'm going to say one way in which they carry out their duties is to help those in need. That might even get you a mark because you directly address the question. One way in which they carry out their duties is to help those in need. This is quite vague, so I need to give a PEE here to be more specific. This is because, why do they do it? This is because they believe that the parable of the sheep parable, let's say it. Parable of the sheep and goats suggests that they should help those less fortunate than themselves. Okay, so there's my evidence. The parable of the sheep and goats. Let's be more specific to finish. This means that they might hand out drinks of water to people leaving bars or nightclubs. As we know, this is what street pastors do. The Guildford Street Angels is a great example. So let's review. One way in which, and I've used the sentence starters, this is because, and I've used a piece of evidence, the parable of the sheep and goats, and then I've given a this means that and tied it all together. My next bit goes on and says another way, ... And that, folks, is how to answer your 5-mark question. So to review then, it's really, really important to remember the following things. You need to have 2 developed points. You must use the wording of the question. You absolutely need to be using full sentences and keywords, quotes if appropriate in the 5 markers, and you must use the sentence starters that I have just shown you. Now, it's time for you to practice your own. Thanks very much.